What's going on, guys? It's me, Mong, and we are back dungeon delving in Albion Online. So the last video we did, the Black Zone dungeons, you guys seem to like it, just going around, going to different dungeons, looking for normal bosses, rare bosses, seeing what loot we get, and just generally seeing what the player versus environment is like in Albion Online. Some viewers may be new to the game, some may not have it at all, so yeah, take this as a first look to sort of dungeons in Albion Online. Something to note though in these videos is that I'm actually in the Black Zone, I'm not in the Royal Continent, so if anyone comes into this dungeon and is not an ally or if they're not in my guild, they could easily attack me, kill me, loot my stuff, so yeah, just be wary of that if you're thinking of coming here to fame farm for yourself. But one of the perks is that you do get more fame per kill. So the dungeon I'm currently in is just an open standard scallywag dungeon. It is tier 4, and something else to note is that I am in completely tier 4 gear, 4.1 actually, sorry, so basically tier 5. So if you're thinking of coming here yourself, there's a little comparison of what I'm actually wearing. Oh, the itchy nose when recording this morning. But yeah, guys, if you do like PvE and you like looting like myself, then dungeon delving is one of the things you've got to do. And the first one we're in today is actually pretty simple. You've just got skeletons, and then I'd say like a tougher skeleton, but really all you got to do is watch out for one of its spells. Now the archers once again can be lethal if you actually don't attack them and you just leave them from killing you from a distance, especially in a boss battle. But you can see I'm taking them on two by two. I was about to say 1 by 1 and then went to 2 by 2. I'm taking them on 2 at a time, and if you take them out with a load of AoE spells, so if you're using a warbow like I am, the cone shot, the explosive shot, I have got my mystic arrow if it is like a tougher mob or I'm just generally in a sticky situation. But a lot of the mobs in the dungeon aren't too dangerous. You don't have to be too wary of them. This is the tougher mob I was on about, and as I said, there's his AoE spell. You can see it does 162, so if you're a melee class or if you're a ranged class and you don't actually move out of that, you can get a lot of damage done to you, especially if 2 group up on you and you get trapped in the cone of both of them, because it's not just like single mobs. Like here it's just archers, there was just the sword guy, but later in the dungeon and all the way around you do get mages and archers and the sword guys all teaming up, so that is something you've got to be wary of. You can see my health actually gets pretty low here as well. That's why I've got my heal spell on, just so I can heal up before the mobs like start attacking me once again and just kill me. But something to note in the Black Zone, guys, is that if you do die by a mob, don't worry, you're not going to outright die and lose all your stuff. You'll just get knocked out in the Royal Continent, and then if someone does say come along and wants to kill you, all they got to do is one tap you. But at least you're not dying to a mob and have risk of losing all your gear just because you're trying to fame farm. But here's what I was on about. You can see I've got the big sword guy and I've got an archer, so you've really got to try and dodge the AoE and focus them down. But apart from that, it is a pretty like straightforward and open plan dungeon. You can see it in the bottom right. I actually went from the bottom right all the way down to the bottom and then back up to the top left. This is where the boss is, and this is the rare boss of the dungeon. It is lucky that it spawned. I think I've been fairly lucky recently. I know we had a rare boss in the last dungeon video as well, but rare bosses compared to normal bosses, the way to tell if you've got a rare boss is by the health normally. Like at tier 4, when you go into a dungeon like this, the boss is either going to have 4k health if it's an open, like not an instance dungeon, or if it's an open world one, it'll have like 4k, 8k. A normal boss in an instance dungeon would have like 9k health. But you can see this boss has got 14k health, and he's actually whipping out a ton of different skills as well. So he's trying to hit me, he's trying to smack me with that big circle, he's trying to grab me with that hand. In a minute he's got this giant hammer thing that he tries to knock me down with. Like, there's a lot of different mechanics and skills you've got to watch out for compared to just a normal standard boss. But obviously, in return, you're going to get a lot more silver, a lot more loot, and a lot more fame. So it's all well worth it. Like, it's just, you want to come kill him. Like, I think I end up getting, 50 Masters runes, which is tier 5. And it's enough to get you a 5.1 enchant on a standard piece of tier 5 gear, and you can see the hand actually stunned me there, and it takes off quite a bit of damage as well. I think a stun is more annoying than the damage, because like you'll see at the end of the video, there's another boss that stuns me, and he stunned me to the point where I was just standing there and taking hits from him, and it was just lowering my health down. But that was a stun that actually did damage and a stun. It was pretty annoying, and you can see that the boss fights are actually kind of long. So I went through this whole dungeon in about 10 minutes, get to this boss fight alone, and he's taken me a good 3-4 minutes to kill. There's the big giant hammer thing, and it is literally getting down to the T. Like, my health is close. I've already used my health potion, and they put a cooldown on your health potions as well. Once again, information for new players, but yeah, they put cooldowns on health potions, so once you've used one, you can't just use another one in a boss fight, okay? You've got to use it at a critical moment. But yeah, there we go. We get to a few Masters runes, a few, Adepts runes, and then Experts runes as well. But moving on to the next dungeon, guys. This is actually the other dungeon in the same biome I'm in. So there's 2 solo dungeons, and you can see this one's a lot smaller. So although it's great for getting to the boss, which obviously gives the most fame out of the dungeon compared to the other mobs, if someone comes in and they see that there's not mobs at the start of the dungeon, it's a key sign that there's someone waiting for the boss at the end, or that there's already someone in there. And obviously, with it being really small, it's not going to take them that long to be able to get to you. So it's got to be something you've got to watch out for. I tend to go to the top dungeon that we were just in and do a long run, like literally try and clear out the whole dungeon, clear the boss, work my way through, back through the other lane of mobs that I didn't get to, and then come to this one because it's quicker. By the time I've travelled to this one, done this dungeon, done this dungeon, and then travelled back, the other boss is usually spawned. Now, in this dungeon, it is actually only a normal standard boss. Oh, sorry about that. My throat is evil when I'm pre-recording. When I'm live commentary, it's fine. But yeah, as I was saying, you can see this boss is actually a standard boss compared to the other boss. And once again, you can tell by the health. Look, it's only got 4k health compared to the other boss of 14k. And he's basically staying in a stationary position, not using that much movement, hasn't got too many skills to dodge. All you could see there was his cone and then like the rain of arrows. But guys and girls, to finish it off, what we're going to do is actually go to the next zone over. It's a tier 5 zone, and we're going to go to one of the outside multi-dungeons. So, blue dungeons are for multiplayer. I told you, like my English. Blue dungeons are for multiple players. It's meant to be 3 to 5, but the outside of the blue dungeon is actually soloable. And you can see that it's given a lot more fame than the other dungeons. Like, for comparison, those little people there are like the skeletons of this dungeon. We're moving on to like the archers of this bit, which are the axe throwers. And you can just see they're a lot tougher, a lot more durable, but they also give a ton more fame. 285 fame compared to what was it, like 190? On the last dungeon. There's also an extra mob here, or a few extra different types of mobs, so you can get more fame as well. Like, look at this big guy. He was chucking rocks at me, he's trying to kick me. He's got 3.5k health, so he's basically like a mini boss. Like, honestly, 3.5k. The last boss had what, 4k, but he gives 375 fame. It's insane. And you can find standard soloable bosses outside of these multiplayer dungeons as well, so you don't have to worry about going in if you haven't got a group, if you haven't got a guild. If you're a solo player, like a lot of Albion players are, like a lot of the guild content requires a lot of attention and detail and skill, something your friend Mong here just hasn't got. But you can see that a lot of the standard bosses are like normal solo dungeon bosses. Like, it's just, the only difference is they're outside, so there is a bit more risk of being attacked or ganked. But outside of these dungeons, you can see it's pretty much, it's like double the size of the inside of one of the other dungeons. But guys, to finish this video off, we're gonna have one of the hardest bosses that I came across, and that's only because he's a melee based boss. And there's the stun that you could see I was mentioning earlier, which just allowed him to swing at me. But because he's a melee based boss, and as I was saying earlier, I'm in cloth armor, so I'm going to be taking heavy attacks from melee based people. Haven't got too much armor, too much resistance, too many hit points. Like, I'm pretty much a walking glass cannon, and because of that, this boss really did get the best of me. But in the end, all you got to really do is block the stun, move out of the way of this like berserker rage stuff, and then you should be fine. Like, in the end again, I did get killed because of the stun. You could see he used the stun, and then he used his big AoE like axe cleave thing. But it's challenging, it's skillful. Like, I much prefer these like bosses and just this fame farming in the Black Zone compared to the Royal Continent. This is pretty much the exact same layout as one of the dungeons near Thetford. The only difference is you're getting a lot more fame for your buck. So if I was doing this boss at Thetford, I'd only get like 1,000 fame, and I'd kind of be annoyed. I'm not going to lie to you, this boss killed me 3 times, okay, 3 times. You can see I've got a little bit more health than last time because I used the ice block to actually block one of his stuns, and I'm not being a pleb getting caught in his giant AoE axe cleaves and his berserker rage. But even this guy, it came down to the T. Like, look, I got caught once, I'm on my last like hair of health, and I managed to finish him off. Guys, if you've enjoyed, be sure to leave that like down below. Facebook and Twitter, Instagram and Twitter are in the description down below if you want to follow me and join the gaming community. But something to note, guys, is that I actually did go into the 3 to 5 player dungeon, and mobs in here are a hell of a lot tougher. So look, there's one of those big guys that I killed earlier that had 3k health. He's got 15k health. One of the little guys has now got 3.5k health, so he's up to that mini boss standard. But what you'll see is that I actually end up killing him and getting 1.1k fame. 1000 fame. After like 10 kills at tier 4, you'd be ready to use your learning points and then level it up. Like, you could just sit in this dungeon, killing all these little ones and then going from there. They are a bit tough. You can see that these spear people are hitting me for 159 per time. But yeah, just something to note. Once again, if you've enjoyed, be sure to leave that like down below. Thank you for all of the support, and I will see you in the next video.